Folks, I am here with Neil from RMPS Automotive Equipment, and we have something very special for you today because we're finally getting our lift. That's right. We're at Tumbleweed Ranch. We're right by the barn, which Roman likes to call our garage or studio, and that is where we are going to put our lift, which is right over there, and his company is going to install it. Now, tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, so my company is RMPS Automotive Equipment. We install 2-post and 4-post lifts for hobbyists, repair shops, and things like that.
I think we kind of qualify with the hobbyist part, to be honest with you, because most of our guys can't wrench very well. But I wanted to ask about our actual lift because it's right here. Let's have a look.
Sure. So what we have here is a 9,000-pound Challenger 4-post lift. And it's going to come with the bridge jacks so you guys can lift your cars, do suspension work, brake work, swap wheels. Also going to come with the caster kit so you can move it around your garage.
Oh, that's really cool. That actually will be handy because Roman will not like its original placement, I can guarantee it. He's that guy who hangs a picture in a house and moves it 9 times before he's happy. So you basically have all your equipment right here. You towed it in. You have a forklift over here, which we're obviously going to need because this is solid, steel.
Yeah. Believe it or not, you can actually install these lifts with a cherry picker, although we love to use the forklift because it's just so much easier.
I would imagine so. And it's just you and one other guy who's going to be installing this, right?
Correct.
Wow, okay, so this is a 2-man job.
Yep.
That's incredible. Let's have a look at where you're going to be putting it because that's actually going to be coming in over here. So what they're going to do is they're going to bring in the equipment, right?
Yep.
And they're going to pull it over here to this corner. Now, while we're looking at this, how did you get started in this business?
So I just came across some used lifts one day, and I thought I could flip them, so I bought them and sold them and started installing them and haven't stopped. So
now, off camera, we found out that he's a Purdue graduate, which is awesome. So for those of you who thought, high-end business, no, go into lifts. That's what you really need to be doing, right?
Yep.
So this is the area we're going to be putting it in, and the cool part is, I believe, with this large lift, we can get the car up in the air, we can get another one underneath it, am I correct?
That's correct.
All right, and it doesn't have to be something like that little tiny Fiat either.
No.
That's good because, we're going to have a lot of cars on the lift at some point in time. So let's talk about the next step.
Sure.
What do we do next?
So we're going to start by taking off the straps here on the trailer, and we're going to take the forklift down, and then we're going to bring the lift over here, and we're going to stage it out here, probably in the garage, and then just start taking off all the packaging, and then we'll start taking off the major pieces. We'll get the uprights set up, and then we'll drop the runways on, and you'll see that whole process here in a minute.
How long do you think it'll take altogether?
Depending on how many hiccups we have, which there shouldn't be much on this one, 4 to 5 hours.
Oh, okay. All right, well, let's get started.
Be a Tumbleweed Ranch video without a recovery. We've gotten so much rain and snow here, it's just the ground is so soft, so anything that drives through here just gets swallowed up, especially a big heavy forklift like that. But the guys had a winch on their trailer and we did a little recovery before we even started the day. Very nice. So I'm assuming these big pieces is what it locks into when you lower it back down?
Correct, you never rely on the hydraulics whenever you're starting your car working under. You always rely on.
So it's cable, is this cable actuated, the lift, and then?
So the cables, correct, are how the lift actuates and equalizes when it's raising and going.
Gotcha. So we've got, what, like 20 or so different heights we can lock into here. Nice.
Less than an hour's passed, and already, as you guys can see, we have a lot done. So they're moving at a really good clip, and the best part is we're not feeding them, so we're able to save some money. But in all seriousness, you can see, oh, here we go. They're actually moving it. You can see how it lifts from the bottom. This is great. This is going to be great workout equipment for Case and the guys. They're going to come in here and they're going to do curls. It's pretty cool so far.
You can see on the underside they look a little bit different. So this side we've got a piston here and our cables and pulleys, and this side is just blank. So everything's running off this side, right?
Yeah, all the power's coming in through this side and pulling around the pulleys to the piston.
So the pulleys go to all four posts, but they just run through one of these vehicle spokes.
Correct. And this is where your cylinder's at. So if you look down here, this is the power. It's going to pull everything, and that's what raises it up.
Nice. Basically just a motor with a reservoir for hydraulic fluid, right?
That's correct.
That's all it is. Yep. And then I'm gonna guess that's up and that lever's down?
Correct.
Is that how it works? Sweet. And how often do you have to change the fluid out on this?
With heavy use, maybe every 2 years, but
Okay.
with hobby use, 3 or 4 years.
Why do we have two lines? What's the reason for two?
So there's 2 chambers in the hydraulic cylinder, and if the seals were to ever fail, instead of all that fluid going on top of your car, it returns to the power unit.
Okay, so it's a fail-safe.
Yep. So the reason we level our lifts with the laser is if you ever had a manual car and you left it out of gear, you didn't have the parking brake on, so it doesn't roll off. And the laser allows us to get within an eighth of an inch forward to back.
And how do you actually bring it into level if you need to make changes? Here, they're like
So for small changes, we use the ladders and the cables, but for big changes, we have some steel shin plates over there that will most likely be installed here.
So we've got our first bit of movement here. It's a little rough right now because all the air needs to be purged out of that piston, but it's starting to look pretty complete. And if you look at the top here, these little, they call them ladders inside of here. That's what the lift actually stops on. They're all attached to threaded rods. So they took some measurements and adjusted to make sure that this platform sits perfectly level. That way if we park a car on here in neutral or something and forget to set the parking brake, it won't roll off. And same thing with these cables. There's an adjustment and a threaded rod on those as well. We didn't need to put shims underneath these posts here because we have a relatively flat floor in this brand new barn, but still lots of adjustment that needs to happen. All right, well, when the guys started, they said this was going to be about 4 or 5 hours. It was less than 3 hours. You guys killed it. So, yeah, it's all pretty much done here. We've got ramps set in that are removable. I'm guessing those are end pieces for when you take the ramps out, so there's a chock at the back.
That's correct.
Right there. And then we've got some wheel chocks up front as well, so you don't roll off the front of it. And I thought it was going to be bolted down to the ground, but I guess it's stable enough just how it is. We don't need to bolt it down, and this way we can hook a caster kit to these and slide wheels under this if we ever need to, and then we can reposition it around the shop. So, Nathan's pulling out Roman's beloved BMW right now. It's M6. And we're going to do our first ever test lift on the new lift.
Yeah, I don't know what was more exhilarating, seeing this ramp complete going up to the lift or driving the car. I'm just kidding. All right, this has one of the longest front ends among all the cars here, so look how low the front end gets with that lift. That was what I was concerned about, and that's why I wanted to use this as the test vehicle. If this can make it, everything else here should be able to fit without a problem.
Yeah, and you had, I mean, it was tight, but once the front wheels started coming up on those ramps, gave us some clearance, we were good to go.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess the next thing to do is lift it, right?
Yeah, you gotta learn how this thing works.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right, Nathan, have you ever used a 4-post lift before?
Not like this.
Okay. So there's a couple controls here. We have this, which powers the electric motor to make it go up. We have the hydraulic release, which removes the pressure from the cylinder. And then we have our lock release down here, which we use whenever we want to go down on the lift.
Okay.
So first, we're going to go up here. So all you just do is hit the power button, lift the car here, and you're going to be hearing some clicks. Those are mechanical locks.
So every click, the locks kind of go in just in case it fails.
Right.
It'll stop it from falling.
And with this Challenger lift we have here, there's actually a redundant locking system. We have our normal locks for storage, and then we have something called, we have our cable lock. So if our cables ever break, the pause will slip out and you'll be fine.
That's good. So the sound that I'm hearing, what is that?
Clicking? Oh, that's just normal. You're gonna have that with, that's just the slide blocks on the post. So say if we want to store the car at this position, we look at our hydraulic release, and then we look at all 4 corners and make sure all the locks stay. And what we're looking for is we're seeing all the corners stopped. If any of the corners miss a lock, they'll keep going down, and you can actually tweak the frame of your lift.
Gotcha. So you have to make sure before you fully release.
Okay. And now that we're on the locks here, the car is in the storage position. We can work under it. It is safe to walk under. We never rely on the hydraulics whenever we're storing a car or working under the lift.
Gotcha.
So now we're going to take the car off the lock so we can go down. So we have to power the power unit for about 3 to 4 seconds. And you want to do it before you hit the next lock. So you stop, we come over here, we hit our lock release, and once again we're going to be watching all 4 corners to all make sure they properly released from the locks. So we look here and we feather the hydraulic release, and we make sure everything is going down evenly. And then we just hold this till we're about near the ground. And that's that. So why don't we go ahead and have you do some practice here? Why don't you go ahead, lift it up, and go ahead and put it in the storage position.
Here we go. So this will allow it to lift. And that's all I need to worry about right now.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, now that I've got it up to this height, which is a pretty good height for working underneath the car, and it's German, so it's probably gonna leak. I want to make sure that all 4 locks are
When you put it down.
okay. So it's the easiest way to look from here. Oh, here we go. And they're about 2 inches between each slot for the locks, by the way. Okay. Alrighty.
Go ahead and feather it and take a look.
Let's just bring it.
All good.
Far out. This is fun. Okay, so to feather this one, it's going to drop about an inch.
Might have been on this last one.
Okay. Shall we go underneath the German car with our new lift? I think Roland would see some interesting things right away if he went down here. Okay, so the lift works on a car that's pretty heavy too. By the way, this is not what I'd consider light. If we threw the Fiat on here, it wouldn't be a fair test. And I'm 6'1", so yeah, Roman and Andre should be able to fit under here without clinking their heads. So here you go, maximum height, able to get a car up here. One quick question though, what about the ceiling? Has nothing to do with the lift, but oh yeah, I'd say we got about 3 feet, maybe even more before you hit the ceiling. So not ideal for getting Alex or Case's truck on here and going all the way to the top.
Yeah, we can still get it halfway up.
Halfway up.
Plenty of room to do.
Yeah, but just not all the way up.
People are gonna ask, what are we planning on doing if we need to do suspension work? We have like some sort of jack that we can throw under there.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting 2 bridge jacks here, which will allow us to lift from the subframe on a car like this, and you can do suspension, wheel, brake work on it.
So those bridge jacks will just sit on these platforms and then go through the frame,
Yep.
right?
And hopefully we'll get to make another video when those come in.
Cool.
There are a variety of different lifts, right? And the one that a lot of people have experience with is the 2-post.
Correct.
And this one's a 4-post, obviously. So tell us some of the differences, the pluses and minuses.
Sure, so a 4-post is going to be more for storage, and sometimes it can be for tighter spaces since the columns aren't as high as something like a 2-post. But with what you guys are getting with the bridge jacks, you'll be able to do that suspension work and other things that you can kind of do more with the 2-post. A 2-post is definitely much more of a repair-oriented type of lift. It just gives you better access to certain things like the suspension, wheels, dropping out a motor. But yeah.
But the other side of it is, I mean, how many videos are on YouTube where you see somebody lift it up inappropriately on the 2-post jack and it just tips over, or Corvette gets broken in half?
Sure, so you got to remember proper load on any type of lift, 4-post or 2-post, is very important. With 4-post, you're a little bit more safe since you're not relying on like the frame rails and arms to properly hold the car, you're just relying on the wheels.
There are different brands.
Correct.
And I am completely unfamiliar with all of them.
Yeah.
So can you at least try to give me a little bit of enlightenment?
Sure, so there's a lot of brands that just buy their lifts from the same manufacturer in China and put their name on, which is fine. They have their price point. Not something we necessarily deal with often. And then we have the more popular brands like Challenger Lifts, Rotary, Benpack, and those are some of the nicer brands for what you get.
Now this one's hydraulic.
Correct.
But there are other ones that actually don't use hydraulics. I've seen those before as well. There's smaller units or
Sure.
ones that use like a ratchet system and whatnot.
Sure, and I mean, there's all styles of lifts, right? You have 2-post, 4-post, you have in-ground, you have scissor lifts, you have mobile lifts, you have single-post lifts, and really, it just depends on what you're going to be using it for and the space constraints.
Gotcha. To RMPS Automotive Equipment, thank you. We are thrilled with this. Roman is going to melt What an extraordinary thing to have, especially considering what we have planned for this barn and this whole property. This is a huge step, and I know the boys are really happy about it too. Thanks for joining me for the Fast Lane car and everything else that we have. This is Nathan. I'll see you next time.